What's up, you guys? So we do a lot of live streams on this channel, but today I wanted to upload a video because I get a little bit more control of this and I don't have to monitor the stream, look at the chat or anything like that. So I'm going to go over one main topic today, Glassnode. I know there's a lot of people that have heard of Glassnode or have seen people pull up the charts on other videos, but I really want to show you how to use it and what charts I look at, because I think it's super interesting to watch these things. And we're coming into this bull market now. So these charts are going to get even more interesting. And who knows, maybe I'll go live soon. Bitcoin price is on a trend up right now, but we'll see if that lasts. If it shoots up, I'll go live. But this video should be out pretty shortly anyways. So anyway, we're going to go over Glassnode charts. I'm going to show you the ones that I like to look at, and this is for a completely free Glassnode account. So you just go to the Glassnode website, you register an account, and you'll be able to access all these charts. You just have to find them and then favorite them, and you can look at them whenever you want. So basically, once you have Glassnode up and running, you go to studio.glassnode.com after you registered and you've verified your email address, and you can start pulling up all these different charts in the charts tab. And what you can do is you can click on like addresses. You can see all the charts that are relevant to addresses. With the free plan, anything that says T1 for tier 1, you can access and you can view those charts. If it's T2 or T3, actually I think you can access T1 and T2. It's just T3 that you won't be able to access, right? So if I click T2, I can see the data. If I click T3, I have to upgrade. So keep in mind, gives you access to a ton of charts, and tier 1 and tier 2 has a lot of great information. So if you don't have a Glassnode account already, you should definitely get one. I'm just gonna go over some of my favorites that are super interesting. So let's take a look at them. First, we'll look at the addresses with a non-zero balance. So these are basically all the Bitcoin addresses that have at least some Bitcoin in them. And what we're seeing here is a comparison. The gray line is the price of Bitcoin, and then the orange line is the number of Bitcoin addresses. So for the gray line, the price, you have your, God, what is it called? Your y-axis on the, you have your y-axis on the right-hand side, right? X-axis. Y-axis guy. I haven't done graphic in so long. So yeah, you have your y-axis on the right-hand side for your Bitcoin price. On the left-hand side, you have your y-axis for the number of addresses. So for example, at this point here, the number of the price is about 13K, 13.6, which correlates to the right-hand side. And then you have the number of addresses shown as 28 million, which correlates to the left-hand side. Pretty simple. But it allows you to compare what's happening here. And this is just straight up a super interesting chart right off the bat. What we can see is from 2015 on, as the number of addresses increased, the price increased with it. There was a pretty high correlation to that. When we went into 2018, the number of addresses dropped and the Bitcoin price dropped. We actually dropped below the number of active addresses for a period of time. As the active addresses started going up, the price went up again. Then we went into 2019 where we started to consolidate quite a bit, and once again, we were below the active addresses. And then we started running up. Now, this is right before the pandemic happened, so theoretically, we could have seen what we saw here. If the pandemic never happened, we might have been up here in price, to anywhere from 13 to 15K and put ourselves back in correlation with the number of active addresses. That didn't happen. We crashed. So now we're significantly below in price from where the number of addresses have gone. We can see here the number of addresses has continued on this linear uptrend, whereas we have basically gone completely sideways with the price. Super interesting, because what we are assuming will happen is that eventually this will catch up, as it has done for the last 5 years, potentially longer. So another bullish case just by looking at this chart. If you're assuming that, hey, based on this historical data, I really think that the price of Bitcoin will equal out on this chart to be more correlated with the number of addresses, with the address increase, then you're basically telling yourself that the price is going to go up. So bullish indicator. I love to look at these charts. This is super interesting. You can look at it and you can adjust the dates. Like right now I'm looking from September 17th, 2014 to September 17th, 2020. And I can just, change the date here to 2019, and I can just look at the last year. If I want to have a more, and I can just select that. I can just look at this and I can have a clearer view of what's been happening this year and how far off we are. We almost got a little more correlated here, but the number of addresses spiked even more. Another super bullish thing to look at here is just to look at the trend of the number of addresses. Like, we look at the number of addresses, this is now the highest number of addresses we have ever had. And on top of that, at the time that we had roughly the same number of addresses, right now we have about 31 million. But when we had about 25 million, the price of Bitcoin was at 19,000. Okay? Super interesting. You really need to start looking at these charts and start monitoring them. The other ones are really cool. These tell you the number of addresses greater than or equal to a certain number of Bitcoin. So this is telling you how many people have addresses with at least 0.01 Bitcoin. So you can get a very accurate view. It tells you down to a single digit. So 8,496,304 addresses as of September 7th with greater than 0.01 Bitcoin, and the price at that time was 10,369. So super interesting to check out these details. And once you should go higher on this, it gets even more interesting. So addresses with greater than or equal to 0.1 Bitcoin, also at its peak, 0.01 at its peak, it's the highest it's ever been. Addresses with more than 1 Bitcoin, with equal to or more than 1 Bitcoin, also at its peak. Addresses with more than 10 Bitcoin, roughly at a little bit lower than its peak. It peaked a little bit before, like it peaked in September of 2019. That's when it peaked up to about 156,000. Right now we're at 152,000. So very close to the peak. And that's people with greater than or equal to 10 Bitcoin. That's over 100 grand. Now, addresses with balance greater than or equal to 1,000 Bitcoin. This is when we're looking at whales. Look at the trend of whales this year, okay? 2020 to now, we had a downtrend during the crash, and since then, the number of whales has only been increasing. It is trending up. That's really good. These are going to be your companies, your institutions, and just extremely wealthy individuals. They are buying Bitcoin. They are buying a lot of it. Now we go into the super whales, the ones who have more than 10,000 Bitcoin. Okay, this one, a little more interesting. This one is not necessarily trending up, but this one is higher than it was even during that capitulation phase, right? So we capitulated here in 2018, then it started running up during what looked like a bull run here. We crashed down, not even to below these levels of 2018 during the March crash. So that shows me that a lot of major whales with 10,000 or more Bitcoin didn't sell their Bitcoin in the March crash. They did sell, though, as we started recovering from the March crash, right? Then when the Bitcoin price was around 9,000, 9,500-ish, we started to see an uptrend again in the number of addresses with over 10,000 Bitcoin. And basically that's a minor uptrend at this point because these number of addresses are so small. You're talking about only a few hundred. For example, at peak it was 120 and right now it's 105. So take what you will with this. I don't think this is as important, but what I would really like to see over time is that the price goes up and the value and the number of addresses with greater than a $10,000 or 10,000 Bitcoin balance goes down, because I don't like the idea of addresses having that much Bitcoin, because those are the people that can crash the market. They can just sell and crash the market. So the fact that there's only 105 is actually good. I think the lower this number is, the better. The higher this number is, the 1,000 Bitcoin, the better, because this one goes higher. These are basically Greater than or equal to 1,000 means that these are roughly the ones that are 1,000 or less than, or 1,000 and more, right? So you're including those 10,000 Bitcoin people in this chart, but you're also including everyone who has between 1,000 and 9,999. And that's really where the majority of institutions are going to fall. You know, like if we look at bitcointreasuries.org, we pull up this website, you can see that the majority of these companies have less than 1,000 Bitcoin. You have certain ones that have an absolute ton. Like look at Block One. This wasn't on the list before. They're probably still putting together all the companies that have it, but I didn't even know this, but Block One has 140,000 Bitcoin. All right, that is a $1.639 billion investment in Bitcoin. And you have Grayscale that has 456,000. You have CoinShares that has 69,000. But for the most part, the majority of the people on this list have 1,000 or less. Like you have some that have over 1,000, like MicroStrategy has 38,000, Galaxy has 16,000. But I don't like the idea that there are going to be a ton more coming in with over 100,000. But it is, or with over 10,000. It is good in the sense that it'll kill volatility. Like the more institutions we have coming and buying 20,000 Bitcoin, 30,000 Bitcoin, 100,000 Bitcoin, these companies will not just be capitulating if they're making a long-term investment and they don't believe that their money is safe elsewhere. They're going to be hanging on to it and they're going to reduce the sell pressure. And eventually they're going to stabilize the volatility. So the price will run up, but eventually there won't be people selling and people will want to buy. So the price will run up. And it just the volatility will be much lower. You know, you won't see huge jumps because there just won't be enough sell pressure for that to happen. And you'll probably still have a good amount of buy pressure. And like we see now, a lot of orders are trading for like 2 Bitcoin, 3 Bitcoin, 10 Bitcoin, 20 Bitcoin, 30 Bitcoin. 5-10 years down the road, those will be fractions, right? Instead of 1 Bitcoin, you might only see people trading 0.5 Bitcoin, 0.2 Bitcoin. Like the trades will become a lot more divisible and lower. So things to keep in mind. I mean, as we see these numbers grow, things are really going to change. And Glassnode is a good way to keep track of this stuff. So keep track of it. Let's keep going with these charts. We'll look at the total number of new addresses overall. And you'll see that has also been on a pretty decent uptrend. You know, it's continuing to go up. It did peak during 20,000, which makes sense. But if we saw a peak like this when Bitcoin was at a price of 15, 16,000, 17, 18,000 and peaked up at 19.1, if we saw the number of addresses go up that much during that time, I mean, we're going to beat that during the next bull run. That's my assumption. So another super interesting one. Here we have the total addresses. Once again, we have always seen the price be above this number. We came and tested the line once during March, April 2019. We went back above, and before the March crash and the virus hit, we dropped below it. For the first time since 2015 have we had this significant of a drop and this long of a stay below the trend line for the total addresses of Bitcoin. And I firmly believe that we're going to go back to this time where the price is going to be higher than the number of total addresses when you look at the trend. Very bullish. All right, this is super bullish because if you look at this and you believe in the historical data, it's basically telling you that we are looking for a massive spike. You know, 20,000 is, I mean, dude, this is about 19K right here, right? So if we draw a line across, that puts us right about where we are now. That means that Bitcoin going up to 20K right now is right in line with the number of addresses. And keep in mind, in history, we have been above that number. So 19,000 would put us roughly equivalent to where the trend line is going for the number of addresses right now, right? It would be roughly equivalent, but usually we're like this far up, right? We have a decent range up, which means that 30,000 isn't even out of the question for the Bitcoin price following these charts. But keep an eye on it. I mean, these things aren't going to be super accurate all the time. You know, who knows? Trends could change. Previous trends don't dictate future ones, but they definitely increase their probability. So I would look at this if I was you. All right, next up, the exchange inflow volume. This is telling us the amount of BTC that's being transferred to exchanges. You can also look at the exchange outflow volume, but it basically looked, roughly the same. Like there's not much inflow and outflow now. We had a lot of peaks of inflow, and now we're seeing a lot of outflow. So basically, the volume that we're seeing to exchanges has dropped significantly. During the March crash, we saw a spike of the amount of volume to exchanges. That went up really high. It makes sense. People were transferring their Bitcoin to exchanges and trying to sell out. Now we're not seeing people transfer Bitcoin to exchanges. We're setting in lower highs here. It's trending down. People not transferring money to exchanges is really good. Very useful chart. I expect to see this continue to trend down eventually and constrict to like the levels we're seeing here, during the start of this bull run. So you see when this bull run was really kicking off here, and we were going from like 400 to 800 in 2016, we saw a lot of people on exchanges. But then over time, during this bull run and after this bull run, it really went down. And now we're seeing massive spikes during these capitulation events, and now it's going back down. So I really am expecting to see this volume continue dropping. Next, we have stock to flow. We've talked about stock to flow on this channel before. This is really good because this gives you just another place to look at it. The halvings are marked by these red dashed lines that are coming down vertically. So you can see after the first halving, the stock to flow model kept going up. We traded towards the right when we were still in the blue, and then we started going into the green color, and we started moving forward. Now the colors are pretty simple. Red means you're close to the halving, blue means the halving is done, and green means that you're getting further away from the halving. Okay? Pretty simple to understand that. So as it starts getting red again, you're getting closer to the halving again. Right, so we were green. This is the furthest away from the halving that we're going to be. Now we're going yellow, orange, red, and then we had our next halving, and we're back in the blue. Now, if we look at where we are now compared to where we were previously during the halving, in the blue, we trended sideways and went up quite significantly and started rising. Here, we're trending sideways a little further because we're dealing with a pandemic. But look at the overall trend after the halving. Here, it went up slow. Here, it's going up slow. So I'm expecting that we are going to follow this line right up. And that's going to put us into some highs that a lot of people have difficulty believing will ever happen for Bitcoin. But might I remind you that back in the day, a lot of people had difficulty believing that Bitcoin would ever break 1,000, would ever break 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 10,000, 15,000. We've broken all these. Granted, we're still in the 10 to 15K range now. But, come on, dude. It doesn't take a genius to figure this out. Look what's happening in the world. Things are going up. Keep in mind, I know I say a lot of things that are bullish because I'm a Bitcoin bull for the most part, but I will always give you the bearish scenario. This is more of a bullish video, and it's to give you an idea of how you can use Glassnode if you haven't before. It's quite simple. Next, we look at the percent supply and profit. I love this one. So on the left-hand side, you're seeing the percentage of people in profit in Bitcoin. All right, the percentage of addresses in profit. On the right-hand side, you're seeing the price of Bitcoin. Okay, so right now, we are showing that 85% at a level of 10,900. So we're way higher than that now. We're like 11,700 now. But when we were at 10,900, 85% of the Bitcoin addresses were in profit. And my assumption is this is going to keep going up. This is super bullish because the higher this goes, the more we're going to attract retail investors. Imagine if you found out that 85% of the people who invested in this company have made money. It's going to make you want to invest in that company. Am I wrong? If it's like a stock investment or something. We're lucky enough right now that if we're in this space, we already know about a lot of these things. We know about Bitcoin. We know about the technology. We know about the fundamentals. A lot of people don't. Most people, almost everyone doesn't. You're hard pressed to go out and meet somebody and have a conversation about Bitcoin. It doesn't come up. People might talk about the stock market or politics or religion, all that stuff. Nobody talks about Bitcoin. Nobody talks about inflation. It's not like a commonplace topic. Eventually it will be. Eventually that'll happen as times change. In the 90s and in the 80s, nobody talked about email. Nobody talked about putting videos online. Nobody talked about social media. These things didn't exist. Even in the 90s when they started to exist, it was basically the youth that talked about Zanga and MySpace and Facebook. Adults weren't even into it. Over time, it expanded to everyone. Now you can be like 12 years old and have a Facebook, or you could be 70 years old and have a Facebook. That was not how the 90s were. Not at all. It took a while. When I was in college, when I started college back in the day, and I got Facebook for the first time, you had to have a .edu email to get Facebook. So if you weren't in school and didn't have a valid edu email, you couldn't even get Facebook. They rolled it out to different campuses. Eventually, they realized that, wait a minute, everyone wants this. Now we're ready to scale. We've got our infrastructure in place and we can scale. Let's open it up for other email domains. And that's when it blew up. The market cap just blew up. And what does that tell us? That told us that when these type of, wide-ranging tools or technologies, when they have the ability to hit the mass market flocks to them. When the mass market sees their utility and when the mass market is able to access them in an easy way. That's going to end up happening with Bitcoin. It will not only be able to be easily accessible, but it'll almost become like you need it. You know what I mean? You might go to places and you might have a poker game and you might be playing for Bitcoin instead of for fiat, for dollars. You never know what's going to happen in the future. I'm just saying that we're in a same place with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency today, primarily Bitcoin, that a lot of other technologies have been in the past. And we have seen history repeat itself. We have seen the past show us the way to the future. And I think we're looking at the future. And these are just some charts to help you with viewing that future as we dive into it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you check out Glassnode. I really recommend creating an account. It's completely free for the free version, and it gives you access to all the tier 1 and tier 2 charts. I primarily look at a lot of the tier 2 charts, the new addresses, total addresses, those are all tier 1. You can see in my video right here which charts I look at, so feel free to reference this and add them to yours. And I hope you enjoy this. I hope this was fun. I haven't seen too many videos on this yet, and I haven't really had anyone go through and explain why the charts are useful to them. So thought I'd do it and show you why I use them and how I use them. You could probably do a lot more than what I've shown you here. You can even hit that compare button and compare charts together if you want. So do a lot, enjoy, and I will see you next time. So wait, before I go, like, subscribe, and comment if you want. I hear all that stuff helps. I'm not sure. I've never cared in the past, but I want to grow this now because we're going into a bull market and it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun when I start doing live streams if there's more people coming. So like, subscribe, and if you do want to see live streams during market volatility, when things are going up, things are going down, I'm going to try my best to be going live during those times. So make sure you subscribe so we can enjoy each other's company during this bull market. The next couple of years are going to be heck of a lot of fun, and I want you guys to come on here and watch it with me so we can go back in 10 years and be like, I remember I was on this chat with this dude on YouTube while I made X amount of money because Bitcoin was smoothing. That's the goal. So feel free to join. And keep in mind, these are just my opinions, nothing financial. Read the little thing at the, there, is it there? Where the hell is it? I don't know how to point. No. There. Yeah, read that thing. Yeah, that thing right there. These are just my opinions. Nothing here is financial advice. I just want to give you guys some information to supplement what you may already know. Knowledge sharing is what this is about. So I really hope you enjoyed that. Like, subscribe for more Bitcoin videos and live streams. I don't know how many videos I'm going to do, but I'll definitely be doing more live streams. And tap the stupid bell if you want notifications. The BTC donations thing that you see there, like, Jesus, over there, right at the end, don't worry about that. Here's why I put that there. Let me explain this before we bounce. I figure that at some point in time, one of these whales might find this video or one of my videos. And if they do, and if they enjoy it, You know, if you're Michael Saylor or you or some other whale that's been around Bitcoin for a long time, hook me up. You know, why not? This is fun stuff. If you got 10,000 Bitcoin, you know, spare some change. Anyways, don't worry about donating. I really don't care if you do or not, but it feels like it's stupid to not have it there. So just like the video, and that's good enough. I'll take that as your donation. All right, take it easy. I will see you again. We'll probably go online later this evening or maybe tomorrow, depending on what's happening in the market. Right now, though, oh damn, maybe we'll go live right now. I'm gonna watch the price for a little bit, and if it keeps looking interesting, I'm about to go live while I'm uploading this video. All right, take it easy, you guys. Thank you for joining me. Like, subscribe, comment, whatever you want. Let me know if you want to see other videos. I can go over more stuff. Peace.